Welcome back to PPCM's Painful Truth. Today's guest, Melissa Merlino.
Thank you so much today for sharing your peripartum cardiomyopathy PPCM event experience. I don't really know your story, so why don't you take me back with just starting with just a question. Were you diagnosed during pregnancy, or were you diagnosed PPCM at a life threat in the ER?
I was diagnosed after I gave birth.
So at a life threat.
A lot of symptoms before.
Okay, so why don't you take me back to where from once you introduce yourself, what state you're in, and when you got pregnant and the symptoms.
Okay, so my name is Melissa Merlino, and I was 38 years old when I was diagnosed, and this was my third pregnancy. It was my son.
Is there a way that I heard every little bit? Is there a place where you can go outside maybe or something that where there's no
Can you hear the can you shut the door?
It's choppy. I hear every other word.
Oh no. Okay. There is a front coming through right now.
Oh, a storm?
Yeah.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Can you?
I can.
Okay.
I heard. Okay, so you're Melissa from where?
I'm Melissa Merlino from Duncannon, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. Well, Philadelphia, PA. So, what year was it when you were pregnant?
2019.
And what were the symptoms when you just started feeling like this is not normal? This is not my body.
The symptoms started before I was diagnosed. I had a pretty bad cough. And to describe the cough, because it wasn't just like an ordinary cough, it was pretty bad. It was like if you took water down the wrong pipe and you're trying to cough up like fluid that you took down the wrong pipe.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I would sometimes spend like 3 hours coughing in the morning. And I guess trying to clear that fluid out that I didn't understand or know was there. I brought that up a couple times to my OBGYN, and they didn't really seem too concerned. It was kind of like, it's just allergies or, acid reflux. Yes.
Yeah.
Tried all different stuff, didn't work. Cough kept getting worse. And I had swelling too. So like my legs were swollen, my feet were swollen. I was just swelling everywhere. I had even had swelling in my face too.
Yeah. I was really puffy.
Yeah.
They say that once you start swelling in the face, that's when, because it's like literally you can watch the fluid that starts in your feet and your legs and it travels up your body. And once it gets to your face, you're in heart failure at that point, pretty much.
Oh. Well, that makes sense because it was pretty close by the time I had it in my face.
Oh, yeah. I have a side-by-side photo. I was unrecognizable. It was awful. I remember the swelling. It was terrible. So at this point, did you go to an obstetrician's office? Did you go to a doula or a birth keeper? Who was your birthing professional?
I went to an OBGYN, just regular obstetrician.
In PA?
Yes.
We have excellent, we have the University of Pennsylvania. They even have a heart health pregnancy I'm surprised because I don't know. What hospital?
I was UPMC.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really, really surprised of that,
Well,
to be
the
honest with you.
hospital was okay, but and that was like after my pregnancy, like after I delivered and I went in there, they figured everything out. They were real good at
Absolutely.
that. It was before that they were
Sure.
brushing things off, and the office was actually aware of PPCM. So when I came in and I told them, they were kind of surprised, but they're like, yeah, we're aware of, you know, what to look for. And I'm thinking, but, you know, I got let down. So.
And, you know, it's like, this is so common and it's not rare. It's either rarely diagnosed or misdiagnosed. So we don't even really have the statistics of this, but, because we don't have a diagnosis in OB. We don't. It does not exist whatsoever. They have blood tests up the wazoo, but for this specific disease, and this is a very specific disease of its own. It's like its own disease because the healthiest of the healthiest could get this. It's fluid. The fluid causes the heart to weaken and enlarge, which causes cardiomyopathy and suffocation and maternal mortality. But if it's early diagnosed with the NT-proBNP test and EKG and having that as a regular standard, raising the testings for all pregnancies, then it would eliminate a lot of the suffering and deaths of women that can be very much preventable. So at this point, after, how far did you go until they finally diagnosed you? What was the final straw?
It was, I'd say it was within that first week. I want to say I may have made it 7 days after. And it was kind of fast progressing. Like I started out, I called them after I had come home from the hospital. My legs started swelling again. And I'm like, what's going on here? My blood pressure's going back up. And I naturally have like low blood pressure. So my blood pressures have returned to normal and they're starting to go up again. Like, what's going on? And I had preeclampsia. So they were monitoring my blood pressures anyways. And the doctor had told me, oh, the swelling will go down. It'll go away. Don't worry about it. But I kind of kept an eye on things. The swelling definitely was not going down. And then I started to feel short of breath. And then it progressed and it progressed. And I couldn't lay down and I couldn't breathe. And I went
at that point,
like, why did I do that? Like,
it's not your fault. And that's kind of like where I was going, like, it's almost as if like you didn't do anything wrong. You did everything actually right. It was just the lack of the awareness. When I was suffering, just like you, I got the fever. Did you get the fever, the 104 temperature with every like thing under the sun? Did you get the infection, or did the fluid cause the infection?
I had pneumonia. Now, when I was in the hospital, they were telling me I had pneumonia. I found in my chart.
So you did have the infection.
And sepsis, I think, too.
Yeah, that's what I had. And
yeah.
Did you, well, the fluid with fluid causes, you know, infections, regardless, but did you have a C-section?
No, it was vaginal.
Okay. So you had the same symptoms as me. I was C-section. Did you notice, and this is just trying to know, because I'm just curious, because my son looked like he was pulled out of me and there was not like one speck of blood, which I think should have been a clear sign that I was full of fluid and he was, clean, like not even a speck, and I'm sure babies are like that. But do you remember if he was like, because we were so full of fluid, did he have any blood on him whatsoever? Because they talk about the placentia growth and the placentia growth factor and the cardiac fluid and what's toxic of the fluid. And so I was just curious, like, could that be a sign maybe to like just kind of think about?
Yeah, you know what? I'll have to go back and look at some pictures. I'm thinking I didn't see blood on him. I don't recall that. I'll have to ask my husband too.
They videoed Leo, my son. They pulled him out. They're like, "Happy birthday." And I was in a C-section, so I didn't get to really hold him. They were like over there, and I like literally thought I was dying. And PPCM does peak after giving birth. It starts peaking 6 days after, or everything exasperates. Did you have any cardiac? Did you have a heart failure?
Yes, I had heart failure.
And is that and how many days were you in the hospital?
I was it was like 4 or 5 days. I can't remember exactly, but I believe it was 4 or 5 days.
Do you remember your EF percent?
Yes, it was specifically 17, but they said between 15 and 20, which would be right in the middle there.
Oh, okay. 15 and 20. And
yeah, and they said, like, I guess there's some specific number that they can also give you, which they gave me. It was like 17.
What is it today? What is your EF?
It is presently 54.
So you're that's great. I mean, so you're fully recovered. Yeah, for me, I was 10%, and then my EF was 0. I was pronounced dead over 30 minutes each cardiac death. I had 3. So when you see it on visually 0, basically it's like, really bad. But I'm recovered too. My EF percent is 71%.
That's great.
I've also started a workout fitness on Mondays, and I work my heart muscle. I still have pain. I still have shortness of breath. I still have really bad veins, like really bad. Like my veins are so bad from the left side. The right side is completely fine. Everything on the left has been severely affected. What are your after effects?
I get like chest pain, like chest tightness and stuff like that.
Have to go a lot, like clear your throat.
Yes. Actually, I'm probably doing. I don't even realize I do it
all the time. Oh, I did an interview the other day with Ad Briefing, and the first introduction word that came out of my mouth, I was completely like I had to clear my throat, and it was like really awkward. Like it was like the first thing that came out of my mouth, it sounded like a frog, and then I did it again through the interview, and I had to clear my throat again. I just said, heart failure, not COVID, which I say often because I'm constantly clearing my throat.
Yes.
It still has that lingering reminder. So yeah, I mean, at this point, when you experience all this, did you end up going back and saying to your OB, hello, you kind of like dropped the ball without having any peripartum cardiomyopathy PPCM awareness and the preventions, and that I needed a Lasix, I needed a magnesium drip, I needed to, really have some serious treatment as my life was at a threat?
Yes, I did. Yes. I let them know about it, and they were pretty
Mhm.
surprised at how far my injection fraction had gone down. And they told me, well, we are aware of it. And I know at one point during my pregnancy, I was telling them that I was short of breath and I was coughing. And there was one doctor at the time that asked me if I was short of breath, like, and couldn't breathe while I was lying down. And at
Mm-hmm.
that time, it was like I was really showing symptoms when I'd change position. I could lay down, but I'd
Mm-hmm.
cough. But it wasn't to the degree that I ended up, going and seeking treatment. Like, okay, I can't breathe, I'm dying.
Yeah. Um, when, like, after you told them, how, since 2019, the pandemic hit kind of shortly after that, have they made any changes, like added anything? The NT-proBNP test, do they talk about it? Like, are they applying the education because they weren't aware before, but now that they are aware and they have the education from your experience, are they applying anything to their curriculum or methods of birthing during pregnancy, since the NT-proBNP test is the only early diagnosis as well as an EKG to diagnose this disease specifically?
I'm not aware whether they added anything or not. Hopefully they have changed some things. It'd be great if they did a test, mandatory, across the line. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious if, like, you know, because this is 2019 and it's now 2022, for me, it was 2016. And there has been zero, really less than zero, respect for maternal mortality, the disease, the support, applying the information once educated, and actually talking about it. And that's when I just finally, I think I just got to the point where I just got so fed up about not having this justice for women. It's just been a very, one event after another, each woman having the same pattern, the same experience, the same type of suffering. And to have to live with this and to, cope with this disease and still nobody knowing about it, only hearing about it, nobody can be relatable to it, nobody wanting to hear about it because it's not joyful. And then at the same time, knowing that there's a prevention, but nobody's talking about it. So it's kind of like it's at this point where we're demanding, some sort of justice on this horrible, maternal mortality that has been around since, like I was watching those royal, the Spanish princess, the white princess, the Medici family, and Netflix, and all of those royal, amazing, shows that are like movies. And there's always a woman who is dying of, they called it back in the, starting at the Medici family back in the 1800s, they called it the childbirth fever. And in 2022, we're calling it PPCM peripartum cardiomyopathy. So as long as we can go even further back to, like, history, it has had zero change. And with all of this technology and all of this heart health awareness, and all of this Go Red and all of this women's heart health, where has this niche of pregnancy-induced heart complications have not been incorporated once educated, especially in an environment like your OB? Mm-hmm. So I would go back and follow up. We could do another interview and just let me know, how are they responding to this? How are the changes that they're making? These are the things that we as an individual, as a PPCM survivor, that really believe that there can be real change within women's maternal mortality, having that be more of an ancient conversation in our history books as opposed to actually current and having no awareness. When women are being interviewed where they have been survived over 30 years, contacted associations that could have made a big difference, and over 15 years, over 8 years, I've talked to many women, and it's just completely brushed under the rug, and it's blown off, and I just can't understand why this hasn't been a hot topic.
Right.
For all women. I mean, you know, I feel like at this point, our children, like you now have, how many children do you have? Was this your first pregnancy? Was this your second?
Third. So I have 3.
So would you even know if you had this on your first and second?
I'm thinking I may have had it on my second. My first, I think I was okay. I had complications in all 3 of mine, so I didn't have one normal pregnancy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I know. It's just, some people are just baby makers, and some bodies are just, you know, need a little bit more monitoring and treatment. And I'm sorry that it was difficult for all 3. It's just been, for me, I couldn't do it once. I would never even attempt. I have a golden retriever, and I'm going to get my puppy, Apollo, who is my like total rescue pup. I mean, my parents passed away right after my heart surgery and PPCM, which was really hard. And we've had golden retrievers my whole life. So on my parents' wedding anniversary on June 10th, Apollo was born. So, and he like literally came to me. And now the other night, out of the blue, Luna, this puppy, golden retriever, born on February 4th, which is Heart Awareness Day. So now I'm like, I'm going to make puppies. I can't have kids. So I'll have 2 dogs, 1 girl, 1 boy, make puppies, and, you know, have a little, maybe like a little puppy side business, you know, once a year. You know, I think it would be good for my son, and I can't have any more kids. So, I just posted that. I'm like, I don't know. This puppy's so cute. I want her. So, and my dog needs another fur friend. I feel like, you know, the cat just doesn't do it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, your youngest is 2 years old, going on 3.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, and how has it been, your pregnancies compared to when it wasn't COVID as opposed to now that it's COVID? Is there a difference, as well as like within the disease, like of like challenging follow-ups to be heard?
I don't really know. Maybe a little bit.
Because COVID has a lot of the same similar symptoms as PPCM.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Them brushing it off as COVID. Yeah. Yeah.
I just was wondering, because you would know, I only have one, you have three. So you would know the difference of a little something that would peek out a little bit more highlighted than I would about the difference between knowing this disease, having prior to now having COVID and PPCM.
Yeah, I haven't really had, I know if I have any type of shortness of breath or anything like that, they do kind of ask me about, cold symptoms or, COVID symptoms and stuff like that. So I could see it very easily getting, brushed as, okay, that's COVID. It's not, leftover symptoms from it.
Yeah, like women would probably. And at this point, what would you feel like you would want to say to somebody that, is in your position right now, pregnant, and just kind of is exactly what you went through? Any advice?
Advocate for yourself.
Self-advocacy.
Yes. Yes. No one's going to do it for you. You have to do it for yourself and take symptoms seriously. You're not feeling right. You're not feeling right. Don't try to push through something like I did. Oh, I'm going to be better in a couple days. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I let it go way too long. I should have been in sooner.
I mean, in defense, though, I did self-advocate. I went, my insurance clocked me over 40 times in 9 months. I saw the baby's brain. I saw his heart. I saw everything. I checked. I went to multiple different doctors. I didn't go to the same doctor. I went to, over probably about, I went to so many different doctors. They even had me go to a nutritionist and had me prick my finger every day. That was so unnecessary. Yeah, it was just awful. Dr. Allison Canavan at Cedars-Sinai had absolutely zero awareness of PPCM, and the entire East and West Tower at Cedars-Sinai, which is a very prestigious hospital. But Robert Newman, he's an actor, his daughter just died there at Cedars-Sinai, where so they didn't learn. And this was November 21st, 2021. This was this past November.
Okay, yeah.
And so I just feel like that's when I just felt like this has gone way too far, where, they're not getting it. Nothing's changed. Once educated from a real experience, when you go back to that OB or you go back, there is zero change. And you can't look at a woman and say, oh, you're going to die after you give birth. Why would she? She was healthy at 20, 19, 30. It doesn't matter. This is a healthy young woman disease. This is a pregnancy-induced heart failure. And it's preventable.
Yeah.
With the NT-proBNP test and with an EKG. So, again, I would be very curious, set up another interview, ask your OB and PA. They have the lab study, IPAC lab at Pittsburgh University. They have at the University of Pennsylvania, an entire hospital dedicated to women's pregnancy, heart health. I am surprised that PA, it's where I'm from, we have the best hospitals, Temple. I went to the University of Pennsylvania for getting my master's in social work. And, I'm not surprised that I don't have why I have a docuseries, because I document everything. But, we used to, in college, where I got my master's, learn about practice and policy and how to create a bill for Congress and nonprofits and justice. And when we learn about policy and practice within medicine, and there's clear evidence and it's not applied, there is something completely unacceptable about that. And that is what we are talking about. That's what the real conversations are about. Women are being diagnosed in the ER and saved in the ER for so many years. Why hasn't this been brought up by the departments in the ER? If they're the ones that are saving lives. And who's ever showing up now, great. It's time. Why hasn't anyone done it prior? So it's very confusing. We are putting the PPCM puzzle together on our own as survivors, listening to other people. And the one thing that everyone always says is we know our bodies best. Nobody's going to advocate for us. We need to advocate for ourselves. Self-advocacy is the key to possibly living and saving our lives, which is frankly bullshit, because we shouldn't have to self-advocate. We pay a lot of money for insurance. We live in America. We live in one of the richest countries in the world. We know about the prevention. It exists. There are threads out there that look like a pregnancy test for even a feline cat. Go to SNAP, NT-proBNP, and look at it. It actually tells you about heart risk failures for feline cats that look like a pregnancy test that you can take at home and give to your cat, which is a complete slap in the face to all women, because it's a pregnancy-induced heart failure, but it's a test that looks like a pregnancy test for a cat. Now, I love cats. I have a cat. I love my Rares. He's amazing. I had my Divine. She was my love of my life. She lived for over 20 something years, 23 years, I think. But it was like, I couldn't believe that here they have something, a thread for a beautiful animal that has 9 lives. And here it's women that are giving birth and we're human. And we are being denied the test.
Yeah.
Women are being denied the test in OB. Then girls don't know. You have to get an internal medicine doctor to get referrals to a cardiologist. And then that cardiologist will have to give the NT-proBNP test. But at that point, the woman can't even think for herself. She's young. She's got a baby in her belly or delivered. And she didn't, you don't go to a cardiologist when you give birth. You go to an obstetrician. You go to an OB. Yeah. And so how dare they not have anything for us in OB when we don't even know, when they're like, oh, high risk happens when you're older, when you're an older woman. What? It's all women.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. Pregnancy-induced PPCM can happen to the best of the best at any age. So it's a bunch of crock, like literally. And I'm, as you know, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm born and raised Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I moved out to California. I work on top TV shows for the last over 18 years, and it's completely rerouted my life, because you can take the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey out of the girl. Once this happened to me, I cannot not take this to where people will not hear about PPCM and allow beautiful women and families be torn apart and suffering and dying because of a simple blood test and a screening not being applied during pregnancy as early as 10 weeks pregnant. Period. Like literally. Unacceptable, appalling, shame on, and shame again until there is real change. We shouldn't have to self-advocate, like you said. It shouldn't have to be that way. It should just be part of the system, the standard screening, labs, and testings for all pregnancies.
Absolutely.
And there are women that I have interviewed that have had zero symptoms, zero swelling, zero anything, breastfeeding their baby, and 2 months later having cardiac arrest on a heart transplant list, that heart transplant list that we have in America. 2 months after, while breastfeeding her baby, and she had no symptoms. She said she had a beautiful pregnancy.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why the blood test out of nowhere. She had no symptoms. She said I had a beautiful pregnancy, and here I'm breastfeeding my baby, and I had cardiac arrest, and they said that I had PPCM. I would have never have known I had a beautiful pregnancy. I was like, wow, I haven't heard that one before. Yeah. So that's why the blood test is so important.
Yes.
So, when you hear if people would just, give a moment, listen, I obviously repeat my story because you don't know me. The people that don't know me on this, each story is different. Every story is different. My story is always the same, even though I'm doing the interview, but it still shocks me every time, just talking about this, because it's just not solved. And I'm a problem solver. And this, there's no solution to this problem if people are not listening and people are not applying this in their life, and hopefully sooner, as opposed to, oh shit, it's too late.
Right.
And it's at this point when, we are suffering, we're not even thinking right. So
yeah, I know I wasn't thinking right at
neither
that point.
was I can't even believe it. And that's why I say it's not our fault. It's because I'm usually on it. And I checked him, and I totally forgot about checking me. And we instantly go to, once we're pregnant, we're instantly in mom mode. So I was in mom mode, and and that's where we rely on our doctors, and we hope that there is some sort of common sense, as well as just knowing, comparing other pregnancies, or just not comparing other pregnancies, but just knowing that how important a simple blood test can really save a life. And these birth keepers, this one I posted a few weeks ago, and she said, I'm not interested in the blood test. That's just another thing to fear. It's the prevention.
Right.
Why would you be fearful? And she's a pregnancy doula, and she was pregnant. I mean, there's been a few, and I exposed them. And some doulas get really mad at me, and I just block them. It's not about you.
Right.
It's about somebody defending this disease and defending the people who are in authority, delivering that baby, delivering the process with that mother, and possibly putting their baby and mommy, birth mommy in life jeopardy by denying to be educated and taking this as not as educational, and that it can save and change and really have awareness, as opposed to, taking the road less travels, in a sense where you rather not have the awareness, but the suffering and the death, possibly. I mean, it's really, really sad. It's the ignorance. It's really sad. So, your oldest are they aware that you are PPCM, and how are the babies?
Yes, they are aware. They, anytime I get short of breath or, are you okay? Okay. Yeah. The little one, that's 2, we do have some heart issues going on there for him as well. They aren't the same as mine, but he does have some heart issues. So we're hoping.
Was he born with a murmur, or?
He did have a murmur when he was born. He has it's called a narrowing of his aorta. So they're hoping that he can get a little older, because I guess there's a procedure that they can do to avoid like an open heart surgery on him. So just hoping that he gets a little older before they would have to do anything, or maybe even that would be fantastic.
I'm so sorry. I know, and that's why I was saying, like, this could be prevented. And so I'm so sorry. I have learned that when it comes to the heart, reach out to Birmingham, Alabama University. They have the largest heart harvest. And it's just something that I always thought was good awareness to have, because you never know. And then they're like fishing for a heart. You're trying to find a heart and you can't find a heart. Well, Birmingham, Alabama has the largest heart harvest. You can get a heart there, you just have to go there, basically. But when it comes to like these babies, these PPCM babies, it's scary, because they are also a study. We need to talk about that. Like 100%. I mean, I've interviewed where women have lost their babies, and it's not okay, from this disease. But at the same time, we have so much knowledge where, like you said, they're going to do stuff so it can prevent. And that's what I feel like is the key word in everything, is the preventions and the early diagnosis, and to know and have a plan, so it doesn't get to that point to get a heart, and it doesn't get to that point. And then what type of my mom, she had a heart murmur. She was born with that. Now, she was fine up until around 37. I think she was around 37 years old. She passed away. We were supposed to have we had the same heart anniversary. Get that. Thanksgiving, she had her open heart surgery. She had to get, she ended up getting a human valve. And she got it at Birmingham, Alabama. And it was and I coded on November 25th. We coded, and then it was like we had the exact, I mean, ironically, out of 365 days in the year, her and I both had the same heart anniversary, but we couldn't celebrate it because she ended up getting walking pneumonia because she was so stressed from me and everything. And PPCM takes the whole family down. 4 months later, the infection latched onto her heart valves, and she died. 4 months after my surgery, I was by her bedside. So, but that valve that she had, that human valve, lasted 28 years. So she lived, I mean, I feel like she could have lived a lot longer if the stress didn't kill her and she didn't get walking pneumonia from, you know, me. And like, you know, I think like my dad was going down a little downhill. I think it was just too much stress, but on the heart. But I, you know, my mom had this, probably the same things as what your you know, your baby has. And she lived a good life. Like, she lived a long life. And it was the early diagnosis, and it was having the team at the time, Dr. Barry Katzen in Miami. He invented angioplasty for the heart. He was my father's, you know, closest, one of his best friends growing up when he was a child. He's the one that took my mom under the wing and knew what needed to happen for her, you know, at that moment, because it's timing. So, you know, always follow up on his BNP, you know, his BNP. Liam, I should have started a little earlier. Yeah, that BNP has been on the refrigerator now. I asked the doctors, I said, is the labs, are they expired? Can they expire? And they said, no, just whenever he needs to take them, he you know, he needs to get his BNP. He doesn't want to get poked. But I feel like it should be a routine for PPCM babies to know their EF, to know their BNP, you know, just beyond that, you know. And there's so many health things that you can incorporate as well. You know, I don't know if they have quercetin for children, for babies, but once he gets a little older, you know, start incorporating, you know, even like talk about the vitamin D. You know, my mom used to always say, you know, I need to take, you know, for my heart, I need, you know, my vitamin D, and they have grapeseed that's really good for the heart. So I wonder if they're natural vitamins that he can take soon. I think when he's a little older, or talk to the doctor about that, maybe they can give him something.
Yeah, they might be able to prescribe something that I could give him too.
Yeah, something that can make his heart say thank you. That is not something, you know, obviously not addictive or anything like that, but something more that can nourish the heart, the muscle of the heart. You know, also can't hurt for him to, you know, be with him, but, you know, swim. You know, Liam, I used to take Liam to the rec when I had my defibrillator in. I took him to the rec center and we did aquatics. It was my recovery. There was lifeguards all around, you know, my husband was with me, but there was, you know, I didn't go alone, but I think I was wanting to make sure that Liam was getting the movements that he needed for his heart. And swimming is such a, well, it's relaxing, but it's also, it relieves pressure on your back, on your heart. When you're like, let's say you're holding something and you're kicking, you're not putting pressure, but you're still getting that motion going that your blood pressure needs and stuff. It helps them walk and balance. Just think swimming is just really good for the both of you. And get water foam weights, so then that way it can hold you up and you should get your heart rate up. And but for him, something like that could help him, I think, just to kind of strengthen the heart muscle. I think that it's important that we at home do what we can, what also the doctors can't, which is, keep the blood flow going. Mm-hmm. And then swimming is great. And I think every child, every baby should know. I live in California now, so I think it's a necessity for them to know how to swim, because, we have pool of water everywhere. It's drowning. So I think that
right.
Pools are, Liam has known how to swim since he was 6 months old. And at, 3 and 4, he was jumping into the deep end and swimming across the pool with me. And people were like, oh my God. I'm like, no, he swims. He's with me. He knows how to swim. He goes under, he goes up, he goes around, he swims. He's a little fish. And it makes me feel good, because I don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, and I watch him like a hawk. But at the same time, when we went to a party and it was none of the kids would go in, and Liam was jumping in, and he's like, they all had like swimmies on, and he was like, because he knew how to swim, but nobody knew how to swim. He was the only one. So he's good at seeing things too. Maybe he'll be like a little lifeguard. He looks out for others that are in the water. He's a little lifesaver. But yeah, I think that it can't hurt. He's 2 and 3 years old. Summer's coming up. Join a pool if you don't have one. It'll be relaxing for you. It'll be good for your heart. He'll love it. But do it like a lot. Like, do it, at least once a day for like that way you get your workout going for your hearts. You both have to do that for your heart. So, yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to say on this interview?
Can't think of anything else.
I think we covered a lot of grounds.
Yeah.
And no, thank you so much for your time today and helping me spread the awareness, educate, who's ever listening today, and that may this resonate, through also, your family, that, you have our support, PPCM and Fund, and just keep in touch and set up another appointment. I'm curious if anything's been applied since 2019. It's always good to follow up.
Yeah. I'm interested myself, so yes.
This is our document. This will prove that there will be real change, or that we're still not there yet, Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and have a lovely day, and I look forward to our next segment.
Okay, me too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us and listening to the PPCM Fund podcast. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. PPCM's Painful Truth is made possible through the generous support of donors like you. Help us spread the awareness by donating at ppcmfund.com, or click the link below to become a member through Ko-fi. Have a great day.